This has been such a freaking nightmare. This is gas. It feels like an electric solid limestone. The sketch factor on this bit right here is high. So we got 5 lines, gas and electrical, running right through, all the way through where this walkway in the patio is supposed to go, and that's just not going to happen now. So back to the drawing board. These are the ones that we know for sure the homeowner ran, and if you look down it, you can see it goes like this. It's going like this, and then just whoop. So from probably about, I think it was right about here on to where about that grass is sitting on a huge limestone slab, which is why I'm assuming that he didn't get this down any deeper, because right now this is from here to probably about 1.5 feet from the grass. It's like 4 inches down, probably not even.
So right where Sam is at is supposed to be an extension of the paver patio, a sidewalk that runs off and goes around the way. But there's going to be an issue by installing pavers because we can't get the proper amount of base in. Now we do have a couple of different options that we can use if we're going to continue with this project and the customer wants us to keep installing pavers. The first option will be to go ahead and start hammering out all of that rock. That's going to require a change order. Our second option is going to be give the customer a different type of material that will still accomplish the goal of giving him access and make it look like a finished product, but won't require quite amount of the same base material. Now in this case, we give the customer the option of using natural stone, because if natural stone shifts and moves, that's not the end of the world, because the natural stone automatically has different contours on the surface of it. And when you don't have the natural stone physically connected to each other, when one stone shifts and moves a little bit, it's not quite so noticeable as if they were sitting next to each other and one stone gets off and creates a trip hazard. By having the space between them, we still accomplish the end goal of a finished landscape, but without doing so much excavation and base prep.
We're doing kind of a stone walkway from where the corner of the patio is going to be down here, kind of down around the corner there to the back door on the boathouse cabin shacky deal. So Blaine's running and grabbing the rock we need right now. I'm gonna finish getting this fabric down, and he should be back right about when we're finishing up, hopefully.
One of the questions that's come up in the past is if I recommend using a landscape fabric below a paver patio. And if you have soft or questionable soils, and then you're worried about soil mitigation, which means the bad soils mixing with the good soils, a soil separation fabric is a very cheap insurance policy. If you're wondering if you should use it or not, well, let's just put it this way. If in doubt, roll it out. It just works, and it's a cheap insurance policy and will give you peace of mind. The pavers we use on our projects are called Willow Creek paving stones. We've used them for over 20 years without a single issue. With that kind of track record, we feel pretty comfortable delivering these out to a customer's site. They've always delivered very consistent quality and color throughout. We don't like to have surprises in our material when we bring it out, and that's why we use these. So around the sides of the patio where we're going to be going down to the beachfront, we don't want those stones to shift. Even though we're using natural stones and it does allow us and gives us a greater forgiveness, in how we place them, we still don't want them moving in 4, 5, or 10 years. And so we put down a good solid recycled class 5 base, the soil separation fabric, then we lay the stones down, then we bed them, and then finally we top dress it with 3/4 clear rock of the customer's choice.
We're back out on our nightmare patio. I'm gonna be excited when we're done with this one, that's for sure. So Blaine's up grabbing some materials. While he is doing that, we're gonna grease the machines real quick, and then I'm gonna start working on getting some more of our steppers in. We stopped about here initially because we had to place a couple of big old rocks, and we wanted to be able to get as close as we could with the skid steer. So ain't no way in hell we were lifting that big dog.
Now this job would go a lot easier and a lot faster if we had access from the side where they were placing the rock and the stone steppers. But that area is actually off limits because it's not the customer's property. In fact, the next door neighbors own directly up to the work zone where we're at, and we've got to respect those property lines. In fact, we'll just let Sam show you exactly what we're dealing with in just a moment.
Yeah, I know. Shovelfuls, not the fastest way to do it. But here's the thing. These yards, the property lines are just freaking silly. Because with the house we're working at, it goes like this. Okay? It's just a weird L. Then that house over there, theirs is like this. Right? So this is the property line right here. And from the brief interaction I had with the neighbor, kind of seems like the guy that wouldn't want people rolling over the property line.
Step 1 of installing our new paver patio is to remove all of the unacceptable, unstable, organic material that goes below the proposed paver area. The next step is to rebuild the base that the paver patio will lay on. In this case, we're using recycled class 5, which is otherwise known as asphalt millings. It consists of a 3/4 inch rock all the way down to dust, and it packs up hard as concrete. Now we're only using a 150-pound plate compactor, which limits how thick of lifts we can put in. So we put in micro thin lifts and keep compacting it all the way up. Next, we lay out the screed pipes. This controls how much sand we put in place. This is one of those steps that sometimes guys get wrong and they use too much sand. Sand is a great building material, but since it has no cohesive material in it, it can shift and move. So if you get point pressure on the corner of a block or a paver, it has the ability to shift that paver out of alignment. So we limit the depth of the sand between 3/4 and 1 inch. No more than that. Just in simplified terms, we consider the course that goes around the outside of the patio the soldier course, and everything that is inside the soldier course we call the field. The soldier course can be a single layer of brick or a double layer of brick. The soldier course can also have a different color than the field, or it can blend in with the field. We try to make sure that we give the customer different options and show them different pictures, so what they end up with is what the vision they had in their mind. Now in this case, we're going with a solid colored soldier course and a multicolored random field. Once we get the sand down, screeded, and in place, you'll notice that we never step on it. In fact, we're so cautious around that sand that we use what we call the click and drop method as we place the pavers. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a moment. All right, you guys. I promised you a demonstration in the importance of the click and drop method. So this is how we put our pavers in. We don't want to disturb, pretend this is sand. We don't want to disturb this sand base. We bring the blocks in till they touch and drop and release. Click and drop. Click, drop. Okay? We don't drag them in. We don't put them here and roll them into place. What happens is when we do that, as we're rolling the blocks, watch right there, you see that. And if that's sand, you're gonna get that little bunching, which is gonna create spacing. But look at now at this block, I've also got a void space here. So now I'm gonna have this paver patio doing this. Not a lot, just a little bit. With the click and drop, we hover the block above the material. It's not touching anything. And then, boom, drop and release. That's the click and drop.
All right, you guys, so last week we got the rest of our pavers in, got our patio built. We did that sucker in a day, which was awesome. No cuts, even better. So plan for today is we're gonna start getting the steps placed along here.
We're going to end up setting these stairs side by each as tight as possible. So to get a nice tight joint space, we shave off the irregularities on the ends of the blocks, but only on the unexposed sides.
With these steps, they're rough on 3 sides. And with how the homeowner wants them, they want them doubled up and tight, so there's gonna be 2 over there and 3 over there. And that is not how these materials are designed to be used, so we're trying to square them up the best that we can, but there's gonna be a gap, so here's what it is.
So now this is where we go back to video 1 where we talked about setting the paver patio at the right height so that The step height onto the first stone equals the same height from the top of that first stone onto the deck. On the other side of this project, we have 2 stone stairs that have to match up to the top of that deck as well. The straps are used because we don't want to scar, nick, or mar these stone stairs. These are not real natural stone stairs. These are actually precast stone stairs. So if we scar these, it will be a difference in the consistency underneath the upper layer of the stone. Now, if we were building a natural boulder wall or something else, we wouldn't be quite as cautious because those scars tend to blend in because the stones are the same consistency all the way throughout. But with precast material, what you get underneath the upper coat is not always the same as what you see on the surface.
So had a interesting development out on our patio. We had a snapping turtle laying eggs on the border. Look at that dinosaur looking thing. Heading back to the river.
This is just a gorgeous and amazing animal. It's a common snapping turtle and actually a relatively small one. It looks to have about a 16 to 18 inch carapace. I've seen the shells on these things go larger than 2 feet across.
Yeah, interesting start to the day. That snapper was up here laying eggs. And gone. Mama snapper is back down to the watery depths of her home. We are going to start pulling this away kind of from the side here and around the front. So we're going to start bringing in some black dirt and getting all that in. Well, we were thinking maybe we were going to move these eggs over here, but my sister's a vet and she was talking to the exotic animal people at her work, and they were saying to leave them. So we're gonna work around all those guys.
Now, if you recall in the first video, this is the side where we came across the unknown buried utilities. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't bury those deep enough to get them to allow us to get a good base below a paver patio. So we're gonna opt with a natural stone stepper on this side as well to finish off that landscaping. One of the tricky elements when you're installing a natural stone sidewalk is the difference in the thickness of the stones themselves and the differences in the size. You really want consistent thickness throughout because that will speed up the installation process. Now, we use a local Minnesota family-owned company called Patio Town to purchase our materials. But natural stone like this is available from a large variety of sources. The one thing that you need to make sure you look out for is to make sure that you get very consistent thickness in your stones. That's the key to speeding up the installation process and makes it a lot easier to put these in when they're all the same thickness and you're not trying to dig each one down and level them all separately.
what we've gotten done today. Joey and I got the rest of the rock in here, edging's in. We got our rocks placed. This is all graded out except for the turtle's egg nest. We got this in yesterday. This is all rocked. This is all good to go. We got our little barrier put in. So next bit, so we're gonna get this all kind of regraded out, get a little bit of black dirt spread around.
So this area was our original work zone, but it was also the original work zone for the company that constructed the fishing house down by the river. And so we're finding that there's a lot of materials down there that are unsuitable to grow a new yard. All of that has gotten stripped and removed in the first video, and now we're going to be importing black dirt, regrading this area out, and prepping it for new seed. Our hydro bucket isn't available, so we're doing it the old-fashioned way. Sprinkle the material out and then hand rake it out, and then work your way out, just like painting yourself out of a room.
Our last day on site. So all that we really have to do is we got some black dirt coming in, and we're gonna get in this area. And then we're just picking some rocks and some other nasty stuff out of that area over there by the patio. And we're gonna lay seed down and get our equipment out of here, and that is gonna be that. Let me tell you what, all these little birds have been really liking this black dirt. I've just been pulling bugs out of there and all that kind of stuff. Kind of cool.
Now this is a great example of how we used to do it. We've got to be very careful that we don't drive over the black dirt any more than we have to. So Blaine has to sprinkle this material out, and then the guys have to come behind with the rakes and make sure that everything gets blended down and perfected. Blaine can't go back and forth over this black dirt because that will compact it more than the rakes can fluff it back up.
All right, so we're gonna start getting the seed down. Joey's freaking flying on it. We got the rest of the little grass chunks and rocks and stuff up off the top of our black dirt here. And then it's been my experience that when you're applying seed, you need to double what they say per square foot to get it, you know, growing in and actually looking like grass and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people might disagree about that. Seems there's always very strong opinions when it comes to anything about, you know, grass, but that's just been our experience, and that's how we're going to do it, and that's how we will continue to do it, because it's always worked pretty well for us. And then we're not using any of those broadcasters or nothing like that, because we were born with 2 built-in broadcasters, so we're just going to throw it around.
From this point, it will be the customer's responsibility to make sure that that new grass seed gets the right amount of moisture. We want it to be wet, but we don't want it to be mud. Moist, not mud. We also want to fortify the area where the street runoff could potentially overflow our riprap basin. It's just a precautionary measure, but we put down some quick grass turf establishment blanket to stabilize that area from potential future erosion.
All right, well, that's that. We'll be on to the next one, and from what I have heard, it's going to be a beast. It's going to be a wall, and all I know is we're making a dude a backyard, and it's going to be a 9-foot wall, and Apparently it's gonna be a bear, but we'll find out when we get there. Oh good, they got the sprinklers on the seed. Sweet, look at that. All right. So if you guys will recall, we regraded all this from down on to the street. We were gonna sod it, but that was a little bit out of their price range, so we did the seed. And here's what we got.
So Sam isn't actually kidding. The next project that they're about to tackle is a Bearcat. It's a 9-foot retaining wall, but it's not just a normal 9-foot retaining wall. We've got to reconstruct an entire backyard while we build the 9-foot retaining wall because the backyard doesn't technically exist. They've got a hill that goes down to nothing on the backside of their property, and they want us to build a 9-foot retaining wall that stretches along the entire back of that property, and then import structural fill soil so that we can level it out and give them a backyard. Now, as we're building this project, we have to do each of the sections in stages. We've got to import the structural fill soil as we build the retaining wall. A 9-foot retaining wall is going to require between 4 and 5 layers of geogrid laid out horizontally between 9 and 11 feet behind the face of the retaining wall. The bottom layer of grid, if this is the bottom, will be at the 1 to 2 foot mark, and it'll go between 9 and 11 feet. And then 2 feet above that, so between the 3 and 4 foot mark, will be a second layer, then a third layer, fourth, and finally a 5th layer of geogrid. We've got about 1,100 to 1,200 cubic yards of structural fill soil that we have to import, place, and compact as we build the retaining wall. So if you guys are interested in seeing how we do a little bit of a bigger project like this and then coordinate the structural elements along with the build, let me know in the comments down below. Also, I just want to say thanks to you guys. I see you guys hitting that like button, and I'll tell you that goes a long way, and I see you guys commenting and just helping out. And I really appreciate all of your efforts, you guys. So thank you for all of that. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you found it helpful in any way, shape, or form, let me know. And then I'll just use that feedback to make more of these videos for you guys. God bless, and go get them, you guys. Hopefully we'll catch you on another one.